It's Shriz, and today we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the character Emilia, the main heroine of the story, Rezero, starting life in another world. So without further ado, let's start. Emilia is about 5'3", only a couple inches shorter than Subarus, the main character. Her age is still technically undisclosed, but is said to have the mindset of somebody in their mid-teens. She is a half-elf with long silver hair and purple eyes, and usually wears an exact outfit to match it. I know this stuff is obvious, but it's an in-depth analysis, so we had to go over it. Okay, let's get to her backstory. When Emilia was young, about a century before we started in the story, Emilia lived with her aunt, Fortuna, basically her motherly figure. She was always treated very well and strangely special. She was always constantly away from other people in the Emilia forest, and had to spend her days in the quote-unquote princess room. And when Fortuna had to go, she was forced to sit there and play with her dolls, or talk to the lesser spirit. Emilia was actually known for sneaking out though, simply because she's a child and she wants to explore, and it's not like she was ever explained why she had to stay in this room and for what reason. But the lesser spirits actually convinced her to get out the room, go explore, sneak out again, and she would eventually meet a man in a black and red robe with green hair. His name was Juice, or later known in the story as Beetlejuice, the creepy guy. But at the time he was a very nice person and got along well with Fortuna, and Emilia even considered him a rival, someone stealing away her mother's affection and attention. And after overhearing the two talk about safety and the seal, she actually went out and wanted to know more about this. That's right, she went on an adventure to look for the seal. Upon going to look for it, she actually ran into Juice, and Juice did cry tears of joy as if he knew her for his whole life, which they may have, but we're not really sure how many times they've actually talked to each other or spent time with each other. But he also indeed treated her like a queen and worried over safety, like why was she out here? And of course, Fortuna found out quick about this and headed out to the forest like immediately, expeditiously, and showed up on the scene, and the three of them were all walking. And at this point, it was revealed that Emilia could talk to the lesser spirits, and they were obviously amazed. They were like, how is this even happening? At such a young age, what? And it is rare to have an affinity for them to begin with. And this, of course, is when disaster struck. A white-haired person by the name of Regulus Cornelius, a Sin Archbishop, showed up on the scene. And according to Juice, that means Regulus Cornelius broke the agreement that they had, whatever that agreement might be. And as the confrontation began to escalate, another character showed up, Pandora. Pandora showed up and let them know that her express intent was to see what was inside of the seal, although much more calmly than Regulus Cornelius. Cornelius was a hothead and wanted to get in a fight immediately, while Pandora, even though you could tell she's evil, seemed more peaceful, wanted to talk things out first. But since Cornelius wasn't listening, Pandora basically punished him and beat his ass. But obviously this wasn't a new person. Fortuna got angry, shooting ice shards immediately at Pandora, saying that she would avenge her brother, which was Emilia's dad. Although the ice shards didn't work, she proceeded to drop a huge giant piece of ice on top of them, crushing both of them, and by the looks of it, to death. As this confrontation escalated, Emilia and Fortuna went to go run away, while Juice stayed behind to defend them, slamming this box into himself, containing the power of sloth, or the authority of sloth, which is why you later see him in the series with the hands. Fortuna then went back to go save Juice, leaving Emilia alone. And even though Fortuna directed her to run the specific direction, Emilia still listened to the spirits and ran to the seal. Pandora began to try to coach Emilia into actually opening up the seal, as she was the key. And as she was about to open it, Fortuna showed back up, and immediately began trying to fight Pandora, although it seemed there would be no good outcome with the power difference. But don't get it wrong, Juice wasn't done. Juice showed up on the scene immediately, eyes bloodshot, arms all around him that no one else could see, and began immediately attacking Pandora, killing her. But wait, he didn't kill her. Pandora used an ability to trick Juice into thinking that Fortuna was her actually. But with Juice's new power and strong power and the fact that Fortuna didn't anticipate it coming, Juice actually ended up killing Fortuna right before Emilia's eyes. Juice, realizing what he'd done, succumbed to the power of sloth that he was fighting, something that can snap your mind and make you go insane, and at that point was completely under Pandora's control. Emilia, watching her mother die, went into an absolute fit of rage and began killing Pandora over and over and over again, sending out ice shards everywhere, basically freezing the entire place, both herself and everyone else. But not just their vicinity being frozen, but the entire forest being frozen, including her herself. This would mark the end of Emilia's backstory as we know it. Yeah, that's a long backstory, I know, but it has a lot of stuff in it, and yeah, it's very important. And of course, she didn't stay frozen. Emilia unfroze and then met Puck, and that's been her companion, teaching her about the world and whatnot. Of course, because of Satella and the rage she brought across the world, Emilia wasn't treated great, and realized how fast people were to judge each other based on how they looked, whether you were demi-human, what type of demi-human. And of course, she ran into Roswell promising to free her people of the forest, as well as giving her an opportunity to become the queen of Luginica. And if she could become the queen, she could change all of these preconceived notions and change the culture of the place to be better suited, not just for her, but for other people like her. So this worked out for both of them, although she was unsure of Roswell's intentions and why he wanted her to win the election. Wow, that's some deep stuff. Okay, let's move on to Emilia's abilities, otherwise we're going to spend all day here. Emilia is obviously a spirit user. She could already talk to the lesser spirits, but not only that, one of her biggest weapons, a companion, a friend, someone she's in a contract with, that would be Puck, the great spirit of fire himself. Although this contract was severed in the story and recently in the anime, he's still around at times. Emilia is obviously very powerful on her own, with her spirit magic and ability to make ice with mana. We've seen it in her backstory actually. But being someone that's untrained, the only time she can really show out is when she's angry, I guess, or something really bad happened. So she has a lot of power and potential, and obviously has something very dormant within her. She just can't use it quite well yet. Let's go a little bit deeper in the different types of magic she can make, because I don't want to just say, oh, she can shoot ice. Emilia has the ability to use Huma, basically the ability to make a water shield that can deflect things that are weaker. But as I've said before, she's not very trained, so it isn't that strong yet. And more into the Huma category, she has El Huma. You know, the one I was talking about earlier where she can shoot ice spears that are actually pretty powerful, as well as having El Huma, the ability to summon massive ice pillars that can like mess up the enemy from under, you know what I'm saying? Come out of the ground and mess up the target. Emilia also has the ice brand arts. As you can see, there's a theme here. She can use ice a lot. She can make weapons made out of ice freely. She can conjure up a whole barrier of ice that she can shoot out from every single direction, 360. As well as being able to make literal ice soldiers that can go out there and attack for her. That's pretty cool. She also has the ability of ice flowers. This is something that can affect a lot of people in a nearby area. Anybody with wounds, this ice flower will pop up on the wound and will proceed to literally suck all your blood out. That's pretty crazy. Years back, Emilia couldn't control it and Puck actually had to use his power to stop it, so yeah, if that tells you something. And then there's her ultimate ability, Absolute Zero. It's so devastating she could probably beat just about anybody in one go. And if you're an anime only watcher, you've seen this in the show. Even though it wasn't exactly explained what was going on, you just knew some crap was going down and it had to do with Emilia. But basically she makes a vacuum that can just freeze an entire area over like yards and yards and miles away. And if you thought any of the other ones were strong, this is like ridiculously strong. This freeze is so strong that it can even freeze time itself. Anyone who's around when this is activated is basically screwed in every way, shape, or form. So yeah, basically it's an unstoppable move. Emilia also has a cloak that makes it where nobody can like figure out who she is based on mana and really conceals her identity to others. So yeah, she has an enchanted cloak too. Even though it isn't necessarily like hers, it is still an ability of hers, so we're gonna count that, okay? Also in Arc 6, she gets a fragment of the dragon's talent. And even though I'm not going to go into an in-depth dive on Arc 6, I will say this protects her from being attacked by a dragon, and the dragon won't attack anyone else that is also holding it. So yeah, there's that too. And let's hop straight into Emilia's personality now that we're done with that. Emilia is a very nice person, very caring, very gentle individual. And you can tell that she's unselfish even when she doesn't necessarily want to be seen as that type of person. She doesn't want to present herself as a very nice person. She wants to be taken seriously. So at times, even at the very beginning of the series, she'll refuse to admit that she was helping somebody out of the kindness of her heart, instead saying that she had a great reason for it or whatnot. Her good nature can be a bad thing at times. At times when she should stand up for herself and what she believes is right and defend herself at times, she doesn't. Instead decides to just take it and make herself look stronger. Which even though this avoids confrontation, it doesn't make people think differently of her if they already prejudged her to begin with. But of course the fact that she doesn't want to confront things is also an issue sometimes too. In Arc 4 is in the trial. She was having a hard time completing the trial. A matter of fact, she was failing it at times. But this was also a turning point for her. With the help of Subaru and Puck, she did eventually face her past, confronting it head on and overcoming it, which was very impressive. Okay, I have to get this out of the way. Emilia's kind of quirky, okay? I don't even like to use that word, but you'll know what I mean. The way she words things is just hilarious sometimes. At one point she said the word dunderhead and Subaru was like, what are you from medieval times or something like that, and it was funny. She's also a little childish in the way that she like does things, but this isn't necessarily a bad thing. It could just be part of her natural playful nature, or the fact that she skipped out on some of her childhood, and I'm not so sure which one's true. Probably a little bit of both. And one thing I can say about her for sure is she's a person with very strong resolve. At one point she stayed in the Elier forest with the Frozen family for 7 years. Every day she would go around cleaning the ice that was entrapping people, as well as talking to them through the ice, trying to comfort them in their slumber. And even though she doesn't do it anymore, it's still for the same cause. Whenever she headed out with Roswell to play a part in the election, it was to get her family and people unfrozen, as well as whenever they're able to come back into society and not have any prejudices against them. So I would say Emilia is still a strong person, although, just like many characters, does have her faults as well. Overall, I love Emilia as the heroine, and even if you're one of those die-hard Rim fans or whatever, I think you could agree she's a great character and a good person. And I genuinely hope nothing else bad happens to her in the future of the story. Although I have my doubts on that being the case. Anyways, it's Shriz. This was the Emilia in-depth analysis. Make sure to drop a like on the video if you enjoyed. And I know you guys hate hearing all the same YouTube stuff, but if you feel like subscribing, I would really appreciate it. And if there's another character or something else you would like me to do a video on, let me know in the comments down below, as well as if you have any thoughts on this video. It's Shriz. Hope to catch you in another video.